Welcome back to our podcast, and today we're going to explore a question that sounds simple at first, but becomes surprisingly complicated the more you think about it. And that question is whether success and happiness are actually the same thing, or whether we sometimes confuse one for the other without even realizing it.
That's such an important topic because from a very young age, many of us are taught that if we study hard, build a strong career, earn good money, and gain recognition, we will naturally feel happy, as if success automatically guarantees emotional satisfaction.
Yes, and society often presents a very clear image of what success should look like: a stable job, financial security, professional achievements, perhaps a house, a car, and a family, and anyone who reaches these milestones is usually described as successful.
But the interesting question is whether reaching those milestones truly creates long-term happiness, or whether happiness depends on something deeper and more personal that cannot be measured by external standards.
I've met people who are considered extremely successful by society standards, with impressive careers and high incomes, yet privately they admit feeling empty, disconnected, or constantly under pressure to maintain their status.
And at the same time, I've also met individuals who live relatively simple lives without high salaries or public recognition, but who describe themselves as genuinely content, balanced, and emotionally fulfilled.
So perhaps success is often defined by external achievements, while happiness may be more closely connected to internal experiences, such as peace of mind, meaningful relationships, and a sense of purpose.
That makes sense, because if someone achieves professional success but sacrifices their health, relationships, or personal values in the process, the result may feel incomplete or even disappointing.
Another factor to consider is comparison, because many people don't evaluate their success based on their own goals, but instead compare themselves to others, which can create constant dissatisfaction.
Yes, especially in the age of social media, where success is frequently displayed in highly polished and selective ways, making it easy to feel as though everyone else is moving faster or achieving more.
When comparison becomes a habit, happiness becomes dependent on external validation, which is unstable and constantly changing.
That's true, because there will always be someone more successful, wealthier, or more recognized, which means comparison rarely leads to lasting satisfaction.
Perhaps we should ask ourselves whether success is something we define personally or something we unconsciously adopt from cultural expectations.
Cultural background definitely plays a role, because in some societies, professional achievement is highly valued, while in others, community, family, or spiritual balance may be considered more important.
There is also the issue of timing, because sometimes people feel pressure to achieve certain goals by a specific age, such as getting married, reaching a managerial position, or earning a certain income.
And when life doesn't follow that expected timeline, people may feel like they are failing, even if they are growing in meaningful but less visible ways.
That brings us to another important idea, which is that success can be dynamic and change throughout life, depending on personal priorities and experiences. For example, someone in their 20s may define success as career advancement and independence, while someone in their 40s may value stability, balance, and time with family more highly.
And later in life, success might even be defined in terms of health, peace, and meaningful contribution rather than financial growth. This shows that success is not a fixed concept, but rather something that evolves as we gain experience and reflect on what truly matters.
Let's also consider the psychological side of achievement, because reaching a long-term goal often brings a short period of excitement, followed by adaptation, where the achievement becomes normal and no longer creates the same level of satisfaction.
That phenomenon is sometimes described as the hedonic treadmill, where people quickly adapt to improved circumstances and begin seeking the next goal without fully appreciating what they have already achieved.
If we're constantly chasing the next milestone, we may never pause long enough to experience genuine contentment.
That's why some psychologists argue that focusing on process rather than outcome can increase happiness, because the journey itself becomes meaningful instead of just the final result.
So instead of asking, have I reached success yet, we might ask, am I living in a way that feels aligned with my values?
Values are essential here, because if someone's actions reflect their core beliefs and priorities, they are more likely to experience internal harmony.
Another important element is relationships, because research consistently shows that strong social connections are one of the most reliable predictors of long-term happiness.
And yet, in the pursuit of professional success, relationships are sometimes neglected, which can weaken emotional support systems.
It's interesting how modern culture sometimes celebrates independence and individual achievement so strongly that interdependence and emotional connection are underestimated.
Yet, human beings are naturally social, and isolation, even when combined with financial success, rarely leads to deep satisfaction.
Let's not forget health, because physical and mental well-being create the foundation for both productivity and joy.
If someone sacrifices sleep, nutrition, or mental stability in pursuit of success, the cost may eventually outweigh the benefits.
This raises an important question. Should we redefine success to include well-being as a core component rather than an optional extra?
I believe so, because a definition of success that ignores happiness and health is incomplete.
Perhaps the real challenge is balancing ambition with acceptance, striving for growth while also appreciating the present.
Yes, because ambition can motivate progress, but without gratitude, it can also create constant dissatisfaction.
There's also the idea of purpose, which goes beyond achievement and relates to contributing to something larger than oneself.
People who feel that their work or actions have meaning often report higher levels of long-term satisfaction, regardless of income level.
So maybe happiness is less about how much we achieve and more about why we pursue certain goals in the first place.
If our goals are based solely on external pressure, they may feel empty once achieved.
But if they are aligned with personal values and genuine interests, the process itself can be fulfilling.
It seems that success without self-awareness can become a trap, while success combined with reflection can become deeply satisfying.
So perhaps instead of asking whether success leads to happiness, we should ask whether we are defining success in a way that allows happiness to exist within it.
That's a powerful way to look at it, because it shifts responsibility from society's expectations to personal reflection.
Ultimately, success and happiness may overlap sometimes, but they are not automatically connected.
And maybe the most important thing is to consciously design a life where achievement supports well-being instead of replacing it.
Thank you for joining us for this extended conversation, and we hope it encourages you to reflect on your own definition of success.
Take time to evaluate your goals, appreciate your progress, and remember that true happiness often grows quietly rather than loudly.